Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful Wednesday edition of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and the producer of the On Air Advocate. And myself and Angel are super excited that you are here this afternoon sharing it with us, or if you are catching it on the replay, thank you so much. Now, as you know, at the On Air Advocate, the whole entire month of April has been dedicated to autism awareness. So if you think that this broadcast could be beneficial for anybody, please hit the share button and the like button and share it with those individuals. Now, I am excited to welcome back today Angel Lawrie. Now, she has a list, so hold on, ladies and gentlemen. She is an innovative therapist. She is an educator. She is a public speaker. She is a professional steel drum artist. She does community events and is an organizer as well as a band leader and works heavily within our autistic community and with kids that are on the spectrum. And so today, she is going to bring us celebrating and exploring the special gifts of those with autism. So welcome back, Angel.
Hi, Tammy. How are you?
I am so good. I'm so good. So I'm so excited for you to share. You have so much knowledge and so much information. So for, new parents or parents that maybe have been kind of in the trenches and going through this storm for quite a while, you just have so many different tools in your toolbox to share. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, at first, this is April and it's Autism Awareness, so yay, and this is our time to celebrate our kids who deserve so much love. And I want to bring an interesting perspective today to you as we talk about superpowers.
Oh, okay.
So autism, it comes with a lot of emotion. A lot of people want to make our kids and people that we know with autism normal. Would you agree with that? Like they look at it as there's a wide expectation that we should make them more like us. And what I'm saying today is that we need to celebrate the differences, the fact that they are different. And the thing that I think is so unique, the first thing I want to bring about before I tell you about some of the things that I've experienced over the last 30 years is that everybody talks about balance, and they talk about how you have to have balance in your life, balance, and we need to do this to stay calm and peaceful. But what if it's possible to live outside of balance? And that's what autism shows me when I work with the kids. It's so perfectly wonderful that they have learned to live in a world that isn't particularly in balance. And what I mean by that is that they are completely complex, they're beautiful, they're interesting, yet everything about their brain and their makeup is not balanced. And that in itself is a superpower.
That is. And that is an amazing perspective as well.
One of the things that I want to talk about, the first superpower, is the hyper focus that kids with autism have. And sometimes that is when people who have kids with autism might relate to this. They might see a child lining up cars in a row, or it might be a behavior a little less desirable in our world of they're plucking hairs at their arm, and they're doing it over and over and over and over again. Well, people look at that and they'll look at me as someone who comes in to work with them, and they'll say, well, can you make him stop doing that? And what I'm saying is, why would we want to stop him or her from doing that? Because hyperfocus is a really good thing. And it's something that more people that are not on the spectrum, and in this definition, which I have a lot of issues with too, that's another talk, but that are not on the spectrum, they don't understand, because we try to achieve that. Hyperfocus has made people be able to write books in a day. It has enabled people to write complete songs in minutes. Those are all things that we consider superpowers that come from the hyper focus but yet when these behaviors are displayed in ways that we don't approve of or that are not great, we want to change them. And I disagree with that.
I love that.
I like to celebrate it. And when I see it, I like to, one of the superpowers that I believe kids on the spectrum have is that they come with a cool down unit with their brain. They are able to calm themselves down peacefully all by themselves. Is that not amazing? I mean, I spend my whole day working with people who come in with anxiety and come in feeling horrible and they need help. And we use touch, we use body work, we use music, we use all types of stimuli, but they can do it on their own. And they do it through actions like even stimming. And we've talked about that. And a lot of people don't like it. Even autism organizations feel like that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Right.
So I look at it as the fact that they have developed a talent to be able to understand when they need to calm down. I mean, Temple Grandin, she described it so beautifully. She talked about the fact that these kids have to, as an autistic person, you have to be able to survive an environment where maybe even the sound of a bell would sound like a dentist drill. And at other times, you might not be able to handle that type of environment. So they come up with ways on their own to relax themselves and to fix that. And I really feel that that is a huge superpower and something that people who are trying to achieve balance have difficulty doing. And I honor them for that they're able to do that. So that's one of the things that I like.
I absolutely, before we go any further, I just love your perspective and your different approach. And that's what I always tell parents in the fact of advocating for your kids that have any type of special needs, whatsoever, whether that's autism or something else, is to explore those individuals that are out there that have a different approach, because you never know if something's going to work for you unless you look at it through someone else's eyes for a while. So I love it, Angel.
And the other thing about kids that are on the spectrum is that, like part of that whole reaction of calming yourself down is hand flapping or rocking in place, they're going back and forth. And a lot of people look at that behavior as we have to fix that. We have to change that. And when I work with kids on the spectrum and I see that, I want to work with that. There's a rhythm to that. There's a purpose for that. There's a design purpose for that. It's a built-in mechanism. It's one of their superpowers. So instead of trying to calm that, what we need to do is figure out why it's happening, what's going on, and what they're using it for, and help them become even better at that. And recognizing, part of that is recognizing them, like I said before, as beautifully interesting and unique, and not somebody we have to change. It is possible to live in one area of the brain without having that balance that we're all trying to so drastically reach all the time.
Right.
Another one of the superpowers I want to talk about before I tell you about like individual things that I've experienced is that people on the spectrum, they have a real honesty about them that most people cannot achieve. But at the same time, they can see black and white with the world. And while they're seeing black and white, they're also seeing it kind of rose-colored. And I love that. And if we could all look at the world that way, I think that it would be a different place.
Yes.
I really do. Do you know what I mean by when I say black and white? But also having the fun, they can kind of see through all the crap that the society has put to us, but yet at the same time, they see the fun-like existence in things, and even the finest details.
Right. I love that.
I don't know if you, I know that you have experience with autism, and I was just wondering, do you feel like you can relate to some of that? Because I want to make sure that what I'm saying is like people are
Oh,
understanding that and
yes.
looking at that.
Definitely. Now, my son Marcus does not have autism. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but he does have quite a few friends that do. And I think that exactly what you speak to about celebrating our differences is that sometimes we want to take our kids, and because they have a behavior of whatever kind, and whether that's because of autism or because of some other special need that they might have, and change that, but that's their way of expressing themselves. So if you stifle that, you're stifling, them being able to get their feelings and their emotions out.
Yes, and one of the things that I want to tell you an experience I had giving a music lesson to a student who was on the spectrum, and he was pretty severely on the spectrum, nonverbal for the most part, but making a lot of progress that way. And I want to tell you about that experience and how it touched my heart. And then after we talk about that, I want to explain, on the other hand, why I think people need to hear about this. Okay, so I had a student who had a big talent. He could sing complete songs, and he could express himself better through music than he could just talking to you. Okay, he was more verbal through singing, and he could scat sing, like jazz sing, scat sing, and he had an amazing voice, and he just touched my heart every time he sang for me. He touched my heart, and I decided to teach him the steel drum, because that's one of the art forms that I love. And I got a steel drum out, and I put it in front of him, and he started to play the drum. And while he was doing the lesson with me, he began to sing a full musical while he was doing the lesson with me, doing something completely different. So we had two different modalities going on. He was singing a musical, but then he was also playing his lesson on his drum with me, which was two different songs, and did not miss a beat. And when it first started happening, I thought that I was losing it. And then I just had to stop and sit back and watch him. I couldn't even participate. I had to just watch because it was so amazing. And he did it flawlessly and effortlessly. And I will remember that day the rest of my life. And I just remember watching both things happening. And I remember Temple Grandin in her book talking about looking at life through two panes of glass, and how each symptom in each part of the brain works independently, and how at the same time these modalities can be going on. And it was unraveling right in front of me. And it was just amazing. And when it was done, there was an understanding between the two of us that what he had just done was just normal for him, but amazing for me. And he was so passionate about it. And I mean, it just blew me away. It really did. And he was so amazing. And I took him out. We had a concert a few weeks later, and he performed at the concert. And he just, there was no nerves. There was no pre-programmed, you should be nervous about this because there's a lot of people watching you. He was so focused on what he was about to do that's all he could think about was the music. And I thought, I wish I could be like him. I really do.
Oh my gosh, that brought me to tears.
Yeah, I was more worried about everybody else in the audience, as a performer than he was. He just wanted to experience the music for what it was and appreciate it for what it was. And so when we see kids that can do this, when they know facts and they know mathematical equations and they can count and they can do all these things, it's not just because there's the synapses are damaged, or that there's hyper-focus activity in the brain. It's also their passion. And we spend a lifetime trying to get to that point with passion.
Figuring out what is our passion and our purpose and all that, and they know it right away.
Right away. They teach me so many things when I work with them. And I think it's really important not to put them in an environment when they are expressing themselves, it's important not to make them have to be like us, but to celebrate them and to learn from them and to talk to them and find out what they're doing that works and maybe meet them halfway, like we do other students who we're trying to
Right.
work with, but meet with them because, you know, all of these things that we do for them, all therapies that we call, yes, it helps them have relation to our world. It helps us understand them, but it doesn't mean being part of our world doesn't mean that they're better. They're already okay. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yes. A ton.
So, yeah.
I love that. I just love this whole time I've been smiling, Angel. I love your perspective on everything, the way that you work, and that's why you're an innovative therapist, is right? I mean, would you
Yes.
say that
Yes.
that's why you kind of came up with that terminology for your name and title, is because you do look at it in a different way, and for, you know, that acceptance of their differences and just bringing that out and making it flourish.
Yes. Innovative therapy just means that I don't give up. And you and I have like talked about that before. It's individually tailored to each person, and we use multiple modalities. So it's not necessarily. I think we have to be really careful that helping someone doesn't mean I'm going to make you more like me.
Mm-hmm.
It means I want you to be the best you can be. And so I really think that we have a lot more to learn about people who have learned to be learn things that we strive for so deeply, like passion, like focus, like I'm really careful with the word balance because I hear that a lot, especially in holistic healing and when you get any kind of coaching, people talk about balance, life has to be in balance. But for some people, out of balance is balance.
Right, right.
And that's a very deep concept, and it's something we have to talk about for a long time. But that's where the innovative therapy comes into play, is that I'm not trying to upset that harmonious environment that they have going on, and that the rocking and the hand flapping and that kind of thing, just because that looks strange to us, does not mean that it is a strange activity.
Right,
It's a
right,
very effective tool for someone who is operating on a level that we don't quite understand.
right.
So the other thing, that I want to talk about too is why we feel like they have to have superpowers. I mean, they are, all of these things that I talk about are superpowers, but I like to tell the families of autistic children that they don't necessarily have to explain anything about these kids or make up for any differences that they have. My message this time to you in April is that we celebrate them. We celebrate them, and we don't say, well, she has autism, but she can do this and it's incredible. Well, she already is incredible because of the autism. So
Right.
yes, the superpowers are things we're learning about this idea of the things that they can achieve because of the symptoms, but they are not what defines the person.
Right, right.
And the other thing too that we overlook a lot is that we think that kids who are nonverbal are not passionate about communicating with us. And I really want to speak for them. I because they don't have a voice, I would like to say this from my time working with these kids, is that the passion is definitely there. So, if there's frustration and they're showing frustration through their actions, and that becomes that behavior becomes hard to deal with, it's because they do have passion to connect with us. It doesn't mean that they need to be us, but they have connection to, or passion to connect with us. And I think that is something that only the moms of autistic children understand, or parents or dads or people who love them, they live with that every day, and they understand that passion, and they understand that they want to connect, and they're constantly looking for ways. So when I say innovative therapists, every person who loves an autistic person who is nonverbal or who cannot communicate in ways that we're used to is an innovative therapist. I mean, they are trying every day to make that connection, and I celebrate them too a lot.
That is wonderful. And you have been working with autistic, the autistic community for, you said about 30 years now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
well, go ahead.
What have you seen? Because I just spoke with a woman yesterday out of South Carolina that has two growing sons, 27 and 33. Both of them have autism. They now are living outside of the home and in different, one's at a more of a community college, and another one is more in kind of an assisted living home. But we talked a lot about 30 years ago what supports were like and how autism was viewed, and that there wasn't obviously as much research and there wasn't as much information. How would you say that your practice and therapeutic ways have changed over these like 3 decades with kids that are on the spectrum?
Oh, that's a great question. So you had 2 parts to that. So I'm going to answer the first part. The first part is we have come a long way as far as making autism people aware of it. We've come a long way with making schools aware of it, although I don't feel that there has been a whole lot of improvement in the way that schools are dealing with it. I think we have a start there. I don't think that we have come up with the answers yet. I feel that there is a lot of work to be done for the kids once they get out of school age and they enter adulthood. I feel like we've abandoned them in that way because I just said that they're unique and interesting and wonderful, and that this behavior isn't something we should be afraid of but explore. But yet, because it's not approved of by society or looks abnormal, a lot of the kids get forced to be put in places which they could benefit from another environment so much better, but there's nothing there for them to explore that. So they get kind of managed instead of encouraged, if you know what I mean. Right. And so I feel like we have a lot of work to do for that, for the transition from school age into adulthood and then later life, because these kids have a lot to give and a lot to are worthwhile to society, and I don't think they get to live up to their potential right now with what we are offering them. So I think that needs a lot of work. As far as how the therapies have changed, I think we are starting to understand that we don't have to manage these kids, and that's what's happening. I mean, when the hand flapping happens or the stemming happens, people shy away from that and back away. And in the older times, I think some of these kids are even constrained, or restrained. And I'm not a fan of that. Right. And I think that we've started to be more open and start to learn how to communicate. But I think there's a lot more to do. And I think there are a lot of experts in the area, and a lot of people have autistic people themselves have brought to the limelight what they can do to help with that. So I think we're making strides, but Tammy, I still think it's really slow, and that's why I love what you do, because I think that the process is slow still, and we really need to wake up to this.
Right. Well, and I think the understanding of it that just because you know someone with autism doesn't mean you know autism, because there is such a range of expression, for the kids. And also, I mean, which I didn't even know that this was a possibility. Yesterday, when I was talking to that mom, she was telling me that her one son was verbal, had all different things going till he was about 2.5 years old, and then completely regressed and it all went away. And I, myself not being an autism mom, we all become experts in the conditions that our children have. And, listening to that, I'm like, wow, so there is, because even for us who know information about autism and some of the behaviors that might come along with it and some of the signs of it, it doesn't mean that you really truly know, because there's such a broad range. It's still asking lots of questions.
And I know we're running out of time, but to wrap it up, I just want to say this to you. I agree with you. I still agree with what you just said. It is, you're right on the mark. And that is why I chose the title Innovative Therapist, because it didn't feel right in my heart to say that to claim some type of therapy to work with the kids when we are, and people who are on the spectrum, because we're still constantly getting information about the brain and how it works. We don't, there's so much we don't know. And there's so many challenges that I'm very cautious to put anybody in a box. And I don't think that the help for them should be limited. I think there should be a lot of documenting, a lot of listening, a lot of watching, and a lot of compassion, a lot of experimenting, a lot of innovative thoughts. And I think as long as we're celebrating that and celebrating the gifts and appreciating them for who they are, I think that we're going to find out that, I mean, I've even gone as far as to say that I feel it's sort of an evolution. I really do. I'm not sure that it's an epidemic. And I know that there are scientists right now who are doing some really groundbreaking work who share that view with me. And I don't know, it could be from exposure to electronics. It could be because of the different age we're moving in and the way our brain responds to things. But there's just so many ideas of the way we're evolving as a human race. So what I would like to do is encourage everyone. I'm so honored that you had me on today, and I would like to encourage everyone to keep researching, keep learning, keep talking, keep loving kids that have autism, but also celebrate the interesting, beautiful human beings that they are, and recognize them and accept them for who they are.
Yes.
Yes.
Celebrate our differences. And like you said, I reiterate that all the time, continue asking questions and advocating and researching and digging. And Angel, what I love about you is that, you are based out of Wisconsin, here, but I know that you love to not only travel around, gather information from all over, but are open to also being a great resource to any parents that are outside of Wisconsin as well. And, soon enough, probably next month, the On Air Advocate community will be starting, where we can bounce around questions to each other all the time. So that's in the works. It's almost finished for that. But for right now, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to drop Angel's information below, her email and all of those types of things, so that you can get in touch with her, and then her Facebook pages and all of that. But I'm just so blessed to have you within my network and on again today, because I just think you're a fountain of information. And every time I'm on with you, the whole time, you make me smile.
Well, I feel the same about you, and I'm excited to work with people. So please feel free to message me anytime.
Yes, so we'll have all of your information below, Angel. And so on that note, I hope that everybody has a wonderful Wednesday. If you would like to see any of our other tutorial videos, podcasts, or any other information about the On Air Advocate, please go to www.onairadvocate.com. And on that note, thanks so much, April, and God bless everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.